Ever since I was little, I've had a passion for walking. Over the years, I've managed to discover some of the most beautiful and memorable parts of our wonderful country. I've been lucky enough to visit so many magical places, and now I'd love to share them with you. In this series, I'm taking you off to explore some of my favourite walks for all the family. Each one offers a manageable morning or afternoon stroll, gorgeous views, and a well-earned treat of a pub lunch or a picnic. So pull on your boots and join me, Julia Bradbury, on my best walks with a view. Today we're in the Cotswolds for a trek through what can only be described as picture postcard Britain. This area is renowned for its gently rolling hills, ancient towns and honey-coloured stone. You're going to love it. And where we begin our journey couldn't be a finer example. Not least because Winchcombe, in the heart of the North Cotswolds, holds walkers a welcome status. It's one of around 100 places in the UK that's earned the title for going out of their way to make the experiences of both trekkers and amblers an absolute delight. It's got everything you might need, from a Michelin star restaurant to its very own heritage steam railway station. That's all very handy for a stopover, and Winchcombe is the hub of 6 major walking routes, so it's sort of the Oxford Circus of the Cotswolds. With trails covering hundreds of miles of excellent walking country, our walk today captures the very essence of the Cotswolds. Here's what's in store. Leaving Winchcombe, we'll pass the first great landmark on this journey, the imposing Sudeley Castle. A gentle ascent over fields and farmland opens up the full glory of the hills, taking us to the most important ancient monument in these parts, Belus Nap, the mysterious Stone Age burial chamber. And from one mystical experience to another, the dark woods of Breakheart Plantation. From there we pass the Postlipp Estate, with its striking 17th century mansion, to begin our gentle climb towards the top of Cleeve Hill, which, if we're lucky, promises views as far as the Brecon Beacons in neighbouring Wales. A splendid 6-mile walk. Before we leave Winchcombe, there's something I've got to show you. Who said medieval churches don't have a sense of humour? This 15th century church is known for its striking grotesques. And this one seems to attract the most attention. Could it be because it resembles a certain Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland? Author Lewis Carroll did spend time in the Cotswolds, so could this carving have been what sparked his imagination? Well, this is my own Wonderland, and as I head out on my walking route, I'm bamboozled by a forest of signposts. Each one invites walkers to join their own enticing routes. This is my favourite so far. Crude but effective. It's a reminder of the sheer number of footpaths in this area, all weaving in and out of one another. The walking possibilities are endless. To tell me a little more is Rob Talbot from Winchcombe Walkers Are Welcome. He's made it his mission to devise dozens of local trails. Rob, there are just so many walks.
Well, we cater for all ages and abilities. We have steam train walks, ghost walks, woodland walks, Roman mosaic walks, wheelchair-friendly walks, linear walks, bus walks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But we have other walks, town trails, heritage walks. I mean, part of your walk that you're doing today, you're walking through the ages because you're actually further up. You're going past Sudeley Castle, which which is associated with all the Tudor sort of kings and queens, and you end up at Belus Nap, Iron Age hill fort, which dates back 3,500 years before Christ.
Rob, thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your walk. It's a gem.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. This is what the Cotswolds are all about. These gentle, easy on the eye, undulating curves. Is it any surprise that the Cotswolds hold such broad appeal? It's the biggest area of outstanding natural beauty in England and Wales. That's almost 800 square miles that runs like a geological spine across 6 counties, including Gloucestershire, which is where we are now. Now, Rob mentioned heritage walks earlier on. There's a site you can't fail to miss. The magnificent Sudeley Castle. That famous local stone positively glowing in this light. I think it's a great opportunity to mix our walk with a bit of heritage sightseeing. And it doesn't get much bigger and better than Sudeley, which absolutely dominates the valley. Its magnificently restored gardens are a joy to behold, and where you can follow in the very footsteps of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I. It's best known as the final resting place of Catherine Parr, the last of Henry VIII's 6 wives. Now, she actually managed to escape execution and outlived him. When he died in 1547, she promptly remarried and moved in here. Sadly, she died a year later, so not such a happy ending. It's a tragic tale, but curator of Sudeley, Derek Maddock, insists there's another, more uplifting story. So it's not all bad news?
It's not all bad news. The Renaissance comes in the Victorian times, really, with the fabulously wealthy Dent family who rebuilt the castle, and especially Emma Dent, who you would have, I think, quite liked as a woman.
Why?
Well, she was a great philanthropist, a bit of an eccentric perhaps as well. She did huge amounts for the town, built a water supply, provided a school, provided almshouses, built the church.
I do like her. She's a powerhouse.
She's a powerhouse. And also she had something very much in common with you. She loved walking.
She sounds perfect.
She sounds perfect. Yeah, I think you'd have got on, yes.
Now, how do we know she liked walking?
We've got lots of evidence about that. We've got her diaries, and she recorded meticulously how far she walked. Every night, when she went into the town to do a night school, she used to hire a little local lad with a lantern, so she wouldn't fall over the sleeping cows on the way back. And she also has a wonderful device that I'd like to show you. So this is a pedometer that she had made for her in 1870, New Bond Street. And she recorded meticulously, as I said, everything that she walked, every distance that she walked.
It's very pretty.
It's very good, isn't it?
What year did you say that she had this
Yeah,
made?
1870s. First recorded entry is 1879.
Okay, so 1870 pedometer. Oh, changed back to that. Hang on a minute. Right. So 1870 pedometer, 2016 pedometer. That's a little bit prettier.
A little bit prettier. And here's the woman herself. We actually got a sort of list of all her walks in here. So I'm sure you'd find that interesting to have a little look through. Enjoy.
Okay.
Bye.
Right, let's check out this diary. Pedometer tells me that for 1879 I've walked 1,140 miles. Next entry is 1880. Pedometer tells me I've walked 920 miles this year, 180 less than last year. Come on, Emma, you're slacking. I like this one. In 1893, I've walked 1,146 miles. What I really like is that in 1893, she also had 658 guests for breakfast and 795 guests for dinner. She was a part-in woman. I've done 2.1 miles. Leaving Winchcombe and Sudeley Castle well behind takes us into the heart of Cotswold country, offering up spectacular views of the valley. Now we're steadily climbing up to the next highlight of our journey, the iconic Bellasnap. Through these woods is an eerie and ancient burial site, a place where scores of human skeletons have been discovered, a reminder that this landscape inspired our ancestors too, but in a way beyond our imagination. There she is. Bathed in the dark and mysterious past is Bellasnap Long Barrow. This extraordinary Stone Age monument dates back over 5,500 years, built by the ancients as a place to bury their dead. The remains of at least 38 adults and children have been uncovered from a number of chambers that line the sides. Even with the best efforts of archaeologists, the real purpose of Bellasnap remains a puzzle. Which is why we've turned to Elizabeth Porajewiczenska, an artist and archaeological illustrator who's dedicated most of her adult life to imagining what may have compelled the ancients to create this fascinating structure.
And south, yeah. And this is the false entrance here. So there's no actual chamber behind this area, but there are some small bodies found of infants, about 5 of those, and a young adult male. And on this side, you've got another chamber, which is about 12 individuals, which are bones and skulls inside. But the interesting thing about this particular chamber is that one of the skeletons was actually articulated, which means it's all in one piece. Wow. And it's really near the doorway, the entrance, and it's sat in a crouched position. And here, this is the west chamber, and this had the remains of up to 14 different people. And some of the women in there and the children had actually been hit on the head and had a very sad end to life. We don't know what exactly happened to them, but it certainly was quite violent. And I like to think of it as maybe there was a fire shaman here, because we do find evidence for lots of burning and fires here. And perhaps the shaman would have performed his rites here, and the people would have been out there actually experiencing him doing his rituals and using some of the bones from inside the chambers, taking skulls out, taking bones out to incorporate them in the rituals, but actually speaking to the ancestors. So I see this as a doorway, a spirit door, so the ancestors can communicate with the living. And there's just one more thing I'd like to show you, and that is this wonderful wall. It's almost like a stone xylophone. If you run your hand along like that. So perhaps the shamans actually made music with perhaps using a hollow bone, and the sound would have radiated out and been a really magical sound of this place.
Liz really knows how to sell her burial mound. She brought Bellasnap to life. I'm spellbound. And there's more magic ahead as we make our way towards the highest point in all of the Cotswolds. I'm now almost halfway into my Cotswolds walk, and the rolling hills have given way to this gentle plateau covered in fields of golden wheat. The Cotswolds has its fair share of associations with artists and celebrities, from J.K. Rowling and Jeremy Clarkson to Kate Winslet and Damien Hirst. But none of them has a footpath named in their honour. That privilege lies with one Gustav Holst. Holst is probably best known for the stirring theme from the planets that was taken up as a Rugby World Cup anthem. And this stretch of our walk briefly joins the Gustav Holst Way, a 34-mile walk in memory of this locally born composer. In the late 1800s, the young Gustav would often cross these fields practicing his beloved trombone. Oh, little shower. Anyway, the story goes that one angry farmer chased Gustav away from his fields because he was scaring the ewes and even caused them to go into labour. Must have been some tune. And what would have been so familiar to the great composer are the golden-coloured dry stone walls, so typical of the Cotswolds that now guide our way. There are more than 6,000 miles worth of dry stone walls across the Cotswolds. So if you join them all together, that wall would be longer than the Great Wall of China. All right, you can't see these from space, but still pretty impressive. I know, you can't see the Great Wall of China from space. The great thing about the outdoors is being at the complete mercy of the weather. And right now, it's decided to tip it down. Lucky for me, the walk takes us deep into the dark, sheltered woods of the beautifully named Breakheart Plantation. The footpath runs on the side of a pretty steep slope, so you can understand why these woods were never cleared. Not very practical for farming. This woodland probably hasn't changed for centuries. full of gorgeous hazel and beech trees. And this dense canopy doesn't just alter the light, it also affects the sounds, the noises. Listen. Today, just an orchestra of raindrops. Time to move on before our cameraman gets dizzy, not to mention the peril of attracting the attention of the gruffalo. Reading the story to my own little munchkins, this is just how I imagine its fairy tale forest to be. Out of the woods and not even a sighting of the gruffalo. Marking this last leg of our walk is the superb Grade 1 listed manor house, Postslip Hall, parts of which predate the Norman invasion. Despite what you may think, it's owned by neither a tycoon nor English heritage. In 1970, that place was snapped up by a housing association, and now there are 8 families, all self-sufficiently living the good life together. It's a beautiful plot to behold, nestled below where we're heading next, Cleeve Common. A huge patch of public land, and the end of the walk. It's a steady climb now, and it looks like the ranger's out to guide us on our way, with a few tips on local etiquette. Hello, Ranger.
Hello, Leslie.
Cleeve Hill, out that way?
Up this pathway here, yes.
Great. Anything to watch out for?
We had bylaws on the common. There's no gambling, there's no swearing, and there's no beating your coffee on a Sunday.
That's all right. I've been very guest today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
As we head up the hill to Cleeve Common, the landscape opens up to reveal a brief history of the Cotswolds. In medieval times, the prized wool from here brought huge wealth to the region, and that's why so many villages and grand houses were built from the glowing Cotswold stone. Over there are some of the old limestone quarries that help make today's villages so distinctive. Ah, a fellow walker taking a breather. Always good to share a quiet moment.
Hello.
That's a pretty perfect view, isn't it?
Ah, it's lovely, isn't it? Hard to imagine it didn't always look like this, really. I mean, to think once upon a time it was all forested, and then it was cleared for grazing, and then they put all those quarries in. And it keeps on changing, I guess.
The sheep have got a lot to answer for.
I think they have, yes.
Good afternoon.
Enjoy the walk.
Thank you. I know I'm heading near the top now as I stumble into one of the weirdest golf courses in Britain. Cleeve Hill Golf Course is nestled among all these grazing sheep and passing walkers, with its putting greens dotted all over the common. It's been sharing the common for over a century, and as a result, its golf club is rumoured to be one of the friendliest around. Oi, you! Off the fairway! Sorry! Apart from a few bossy golfers, after a quick change of footwear, I'm not here to play golf. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm here for this. Up ahead, the trig point finally comes into view, telling me I'm at the very top. This is what it's all about. The highest point in all the Cotswolds. If you're into big peaks and massive mountains, you don't come to Gloucestershire. You're here for the charming, scenic, undulating countryside. You've got the Brecon Beacons in the far distance, in that direction, and over there, the Malverns. Superb. The Old English name for this hill is Cleeve Cloud, or Lump on a Hill. It's one of the best lumps I've ever been on. I can smell a pub. When you consider that the Cotswolds covers a whopping 800 square miles, this 6-mile walk includes a lot of the things that make this region so appealing all over the world, from its beautifully preserved towns to the famous honey-coloured stone. If I were the car salesman, I'd say to you, sir, madam, this little walk gives you a lot of bang for your buck.